Hello, this is Bryant Real, and for today's video I just wanted to start a series on creating characters for the Embers of the Imperium Homebrew game. So if you aren't familiar, Embers of the Imperium is a role-playing game being created by Edge Studio for the Fantasy Flight board game Twilight Imperium 4. But since it's not going to be out for some time, a few of my friends and I have decided to put together a campaign that we're playing through, but we got to homebrew a lot of the rules, and we did a little bit of character creation to get them going, but again, we're kind of winging it, and it's kind of experimental at this point, but I'd like to go through some of the steps that we're using to create characters. I'm just going to do these one at a time, because otherwise it would be a hugely long video, but I want to start with the Saar. And the reason I'm starting with the Saar is because we have a character by the name of Pasha being played by Ken. But it's I've changed some of the mechanics on the character creation since we made the video, the character creation video with them. We did a little mini adventure and character creation session. And so I wanted to start with that one just so I can kind of go over the changes I've made and explain the rationale behind how we built it. And of course, you may disagree. Some of you may have better ways to do it. We're kind of carving our own road out here. We're going to make mistakes. But if you have some good ideas, I'd like to hear them in the comments. So let's start with the character sheet. So we're actually using the Star Wars Edge of the Empire character sheet. Right now, I've got up here a PDF for the Legends of the Galaxy. It does what we need it to do. The reason I chose this one is just because it's got the fillable PDF. So we're looking at a Saar character. Size-wise, I wasn't really sure where to go with this, but if you look at the pictures, they look like they're kind of big, beefy guys, but not like monstrous giants. I've never got the impression, at least. And so I'm putting maybe an average height somewhere between 5'8" and 6'4", so a few inches taller than an average human, but not gigantic like some of the others. Eyes seem to be in the artwork, kind of a brown or yellow, or a brownish yellow, that kind of range. Of course, you can do whatever you want. I didn't really bother with the others. Let's take a look here at. Let's actually start with the characteristics here. So I kind of wanted to focus with these guys being very cunning. So I wanted to put kind of a high score in the cunning because they seem like they're kind of crafty individuals. If you've played the board game, they're the ones that can, they go down on planets. They seem to be able to find scrap and salvage. They're kind of scavengers, being able to, take things apart, fix them up, sell them, that sort of thing. And I figure that's a good cunning rank. 2, they're kind of beefy monster guys, but they're not spectacular in that regard. So I put 2 for brawn. Same with agility and intellect. Willpower I put 2. Presence I put 1. And the reason I put presence as 1 is because historically, they're a very trod upon species. Like they tend to be the very lower class. They were scattered, and so it feels like they're not somebody who really exerted a strong force of will, right? And of course that can change and vary from situation to situation. But I gave them a low presence because they seem to be historically looked down upon. So that's kind of how I started. And this start here, the 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 1. If you have like 4 2s, a 3, and a 1, that is going to put your starting XP down to 90 typically. For wounds, I basically put their wound threshold as 11 plus brawn, because again, being a little bit beefy. And then I put their strain as 9 plus willpower, so it comes out to 13 and 11 total with the starting character before you boost any stats. Soak value, of course, just brawn at this point because we haven't geared this guy up. And then some special abilities I've given him, and these are the things I've kind of changed a little bit since our character creation episode. So in the episode, I kind of talked about them having claws, but then I looked kind of closer at the picture. Like, he doesn't really have claws there. But I did want them to have a little bit of like a brawling advantage, just because they have kind of that animalistic look to them, and I thought it just kind of suits, somebody who's kind of the lower rung of society often learns to fight for what they need. So I figure, okay, we'll give them an ability. It's not claws anymore, but we're going to call it Scrappy. And so this gives them a 2 damage on brawl, and this is kind of on par if you look at the some of the on-site not on site. Like I can't remember if it's in the core rulebook or if it was another resource where they're talking about an animalistic quality to characters, and they gave them +2 to brawl damage, and I thought I would do that here, just rather than attributing it to claws and just making it they're very scrappy in brawling. I also wanted to give them an ability I call Cunning Haggler. So because I gave them a really high cunning, I wanted them to use haggling as like it's kind of a negotiation skill, but I thought buying and selling goods would be something they're really, really good at. So I've changed that. Before I had added some booster dice to that, if you watched the original video, but here I decided, well, let's use cunning. If it's a haggling roll, then we'll use cunning instead of presence for negotiation. So they're really good at haggling and understanding the value of goods. And I give them proficiency. So if they don't have any proficiency in negotiation, they can add a proficiency die or upgrade to a proficiency die for negotiation if they're haggling or selling or buying. And then I thought, as a scavenger species, I would also think that they would be good at taking apart items, parts in such a way that they'll still work and be saleable. So I thought, okay, well, a point in mechanics would be pretty good. And so it seems kind of like a lot of abilities for starting off, but I thought, especially at 90 XP, but I thought, they're all situational abilities, but kind of the things that I think they should be really good at. So, on our first mini adventure, our Pasha, our Saar character, got into a boxing match on a Letnev ship, just kind of a friendly spar. So we didn't actually use his extra damage on the brawl because I was going to make it wounds because we were using claws. But if I were using this rule, if I went back, he'd do a lot better. He did win anyway. But yeah, so that's what I've got for the Saar at this point. I'll try to pump these videos out maybe every few days just to go through each of the different factions and why what my logic behind making the different characters. So again, if you have any suggestions, please let me know in the comments, and please don't be shy to like and or subscribe. It would help us out a lot to grow the channel. All right, have a wonderful day.